There are stories in Hollywood that go far beyond the glitz and glamour of red carpets and award shows. Stories rooted in something far more human, in love, family, sacrifice, and the kind of courage it takes to open your heart completely to another person. The story of Katherine Heigl and her daughter Neyle is exactly that kind of story. 15 years ago, a tiny baby girl lay in a South Korean orphanage, just months old, recovering from open-heart surgery, with no mother to hold her and no certainty about her future. Today, that same little girl is a thriving 15-year-old young woman, growing up on a ranch in Utah, surrounded by animals, siblings, mountain views, and a family that chose her before they ever even met her. So how did this extraordinary journey begin, and where is Neyle today? Let's tell the whole story from the very beginning. To understand how Neyle came into Katherine Heigl's life, you first have to understand the woman Katherine Heigl is, not just the actress, but the person shaped by her own upbringing. Born on November 24, 1978, in Washington, D.C., Katherine was raised in a household that already understood the meaning of chosen family. When Katherine was still very young, her parents adopted a little girl from South Korea, her sister Meg. Growing up alongside an adopted sibling meant that for Katherine, adoption was never an abstract concept or a last resort. It was simply one of the most natural ways a family could be formed. That early experience planted a seed in Katherine that would grow quietly for years, waiting for the right moment to bloom. Katherine's rise to fame came through her breakout role as Dr. Isabel "Izzy" Stevens on the hit medical drama Grey's Anatomy, which premiered in 2005. The show made her a household name almost overnight, and her talent was soon recognized with an Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series in 2007. Around that same time, her personal life was also blooming in a beautiful way. She had met musician and singer-songwriter Josh Kelly while filming the music video for his 2005 single, and the two had an immediate and undeniable connection. They got engaged in 2006 and were married in December 2007 in Park City, Utah. From nearly the very beginning of their relationship, both Katherine and Josh had spoken openly about wanting to build a family, and adoption was always going to be part of that picture. In 2009, Katherine and Josh began the adoption process, specifically looking toward South Korea, a decision that felt deeply personal for Katherine given her sister Meg's heritage. Around that same time, a baby girl had been born in Seoul, South Korea, in November 2009. Her birth mother gave birth in a hospital and left the following day. South Korean authorities, as required by law, searched for the birth mother for a period of 1 month, but she was never located. With no family to care for her, the infant was transferred to an orphanage called Dongsan, where she would spend the first 9 months of her life. Those early months were far from easy. The baby had been born with a congenital heart defect that required open-heart surgery, a serious and delicate procedure for such a tiny child. She underwent the surgery and, remarkably, recovered well. But she remained in the orphanage, one of many children waiting and hoping for a family. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in the United States, Katherine and Josh were going through the adoption process, filling out paperwork, waiting for referrals, and preparing themselves emotionally for the journey ahead. When the call finally came, and they were told about this particular baby girl, born just 1 day before Katherine's own birthday in November, with a corrected heart condition, the couple didn't hesitate. Josh's father, who happened to be a heart surgeon, was able to review the baby's medical records and confirm that the surgery had been successful and her heart was healthy. Armed with that reassurance, Katherine and Josh moved forward with complete confidence. They wanted her. That was the end of the discussion. Neyle Malia Kelly came home to the United States in September 2009, when she was approximately 9 months old. The name Neyle was a combination chosen with care and meaning, reflecting both her new life and her origins. For Katherine, the moment of becoming a mother was everything she had imagined and more, but the journey that followed was not without its emotional complexities. Katherine has spoken openly over the years about the early challenges she faced in bonding with Neyle. Just 3 days after bringing her daughter home, Katherine had to return to the set of Grey's Anatomy, a reality that weighed on her enormously. She feared that the time apart during those critical early weeks would damage the bond she was so desperate to build. There was also the simple truth that Neyle, in those first months, seemed to connect more easily with Josh than with Katherine. Josh, with his easygoing playfulness, rolling around on the floor, making silly faces, drawing giggles out of the baby, bonded with Neyle quickly and effortlessly. Katherine, by her own admission, was not that kind of parent. She was the cuddler, the soother, the one Neyle turned to when she was tired or hurt or needed comfort. Katherine eventually came to understand and embrace the different but equally powerful role she played in her daughter's life. She has spoken about their bedtime rituals with particular tenderness, the specific arrangement of blankets that Neyle required each night, a small but sacred routine that belonged entirely to the two of them. The turning point came gradually and then all at once. In 2012, during a public appearance on The View, Neyle spotted Katherine on set and ran toward her with her arms wide open. The hug that followed was not choreographed for cameras or prompted by anyone. It was pure, unscripted love. For Katherine, it was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment that confirmed, beyond any doubt, that they were mother and daughter in every way that truly counted. The Kelly family continued to grow in the years that followed. In 2012, Katherine and Josh adopted their second daughter, Adelaide Marie Hope Kelly, from the United States. Adelaide's adoption came about somewhat unexpectedly. The couple had initially planned to adopt internationally again, but the landscape had shifted. South Korea had tightened its adoption policies, and China had an extremely long waiting list. Adelaide came into their lives through a domestic adoption, and she fit into the family as though she had always been there. Then in 2016, Katherine discovered she was pregnant naturally, something the couple had not necessarily been planning for at that point in their lives. In November 2016, their son Joshua Bishop Kelly Jr. was born, completing what Katherine has described as their perfectly imperfect family of 5. Raising 3 children, 2 adopted internationally and domestically, and 1 biological, has given Katherine a deeply nuanced perspective on parenthood. She has been vocal about the fact that the love she feels for each of her children is identical in its depth and intensity. Biology, she has said repeatedly, has nothing to do with it. From the moment a child is placed in your arms, they are yours. That is the only truth that matters. When it came to where to raise this growing family, Katherine and Josh made a deliberate and thoughtful decision to step away from Los Angeles. The city that had launched Katherine's career no longer felt like the right environment in which to raise children. The noise, the pace, the relentless proximity to an industry that never truly switches off. None of it aligned with the kind of childhood they wanted for Neyle, Adelaide, and Joshua. And so the family relocated to a ranch in Utah, a sprawling and peaceful property set against the backdrop of stunning mountain scenery. The home, valued at around $4 million, features stone gardens, a greenhouse, multiple fireplaces, and the kind of wide-open space that allows children to simply be children. The ranch is alive with animals, 8 dogs, 3 cats, chickens, goats, and horses all call it home. The Kelly children have grown up learning to care for these animals, to skip rocks in the nearby river, to spend afternoons outdoors in a way that most children in major cities simply cannot. Katherine has spoken about Utah with genuine affection, describing the peace and calm it provides not just for her children, but for herself and Josh as well. It is a place where family comes first, where the rhythms of daily life are set by the people who live it rather than by the demands of an external industry. Today, Neyle is 15 years old, the tiny baby who spent her first 9 months in a South Korean orphanage, who underwent open-heart surgery before she could even sit up on her own, has grown into a confident, bright, and grounded young woman. Katherine has described her eldest daughter in interviews with an admiration that goes beyond maternal pride. She talks about Neyle as though she is genuinely in awe of the person her daughter is becoming. Smart, witty, compassionate, big-hearted. A natural big sister. Someone with a clear sense of self and a warmth that draws people to her. Neyle's upbringing has been deliberately shielded from the more intrusive elements of public life. Katherine has made the conscious decision to keep her children off social media as much as possible, and Neyle, unlike most of her peers, does not have her own social media accounts. Katherine has cited concerns about the effects of social media on young people's mental health and self-image, and she has been firm, though not without the occasional humorous battle, given that Neyle has reportedly been caught sneaking onto her mother's iPad to make TikTok videos. 15-year-olds, it turns out, are 15-year-olds regardless of who their mother is. One aspect of Neyle's life that Katherine has handled with particular care and sensitivity is the question of identity and heritage. Being a Korean-born child raised by white American parents in Utah is a layered experience, and Katherine has never pretended otherwise. She has spoken publicly about recognizing the limitations of her own perspective as someone who grew up in what she herself has called a white bubble, and she has expressed a deep commitment to ensuring that Neyle has access to her Korean heritage, culture, and identity. The family has traveled to South Korea together, giving Neyle the opportunity to connect with the country of her birth and experience the culture that is part of who she is. Katherine has also spoken about the importance of creating a home environment where conversations about race, identity, adoption, and birth stories are open, honest, and ongoing. She does not want her children to feel that any part of their story is shameful or hidden. Neyle knows where she came from. She knows the circumstances of her early life, and she has been raised to hold that story not as a source of pain, but as the remarkable beginning of an even more remarkable journey. Josh Kelly, for his part, has been an equal and deeply involved parent throughout Neyle's life. His love for his eldest daughter is perhaps most beautifully expressed in a song he wrote for her called Neyle Moon, a tender musical tribute to the little girl who turned him into a father and changed the entire direction of his life. That kind of gesture says everything about the household these children are growing up in. It is a home where love is not just felt, it is expressed, in words, in music, in rituals, in the quiet, ordinary moments that accumulate into a childhood. 15 years ago, a choice was made. A couple looked at a photograph of a baby girl in South Korea and said, without hesitation, that they wanted her. That decision changed the course of two lives simultaneously, Neyle's and Katherine's. The woman who played a fictional doctor on television turned out to be very real in all the ways that mattered most. And the little girl who had no one turned out to have everything. A father who writes her songs, a mother who fights for her identity, siblings who grow up beside her, animals to care for, mountains to look at every morning, and a family that is hers in every sense of the word.